recording on the computer.
Oh, the light is already on. How are you?
Okay, a little out of breath because I just had to stop a dog fight.
Oh no. Did you have surgery recently?
Yes.
Oh, how was it?
It was lovely. It was my first. I don't have a lot to compare to. It was hernia repair, and
Ooh.
they laparoscopically add mesh to cover the affected area. Which, fun to read about. I watched some video after the fact. I asked the doctor if they were going to be recording my surgery, if I could watch it later, and he looked at me funny.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but I've recovered pretty well. It's uncomfortable to sit for very long, so long meetings are a pain. And I have 2 pit bulls, and I've got a third as a house guest while friends are traveling. And she keeps trying to start things.
That's a full house.
Yeah.
That's a lot of animals.
Yeah, luckily I've been, since Sunday night's fight, I've had her either in the crate or in a muzzle. So when she just tried to jump Penny for no apparent reason, she didn't get very far.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so a little tiring. But it's been an interesting several weeks. Luckily, I have lots of good friends who were able to help walk the dogs for a few days, as well as randomly show up with large amounts of food.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I ate very well for a while. I just made some breakfast tacos for myself because I knew we were going to be talking about food, and I figured if I didn't have a decent breakfast, I was going to be in trouble.
I love food. I made air fried bagels this morning. Big fan.
Okay. I made bagels a few weeks ago. A friend set up a Zoom let's all make bagels session.
Ooh, did you guys like boil it and like bake it, or?
I need to do that again. I was really happy with how those came out. I just want to avoid eating too much of that sort of thing. I've been baking bread, I've been making pies, and I give a lot away because if I eat it all, I won't be able to keep losing weight. I've lost almost 30 pounds since last.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. I feel like in this pandemic, I've had the opposite thing. I have not, I haven't lost any weight. I'm now 2 feet from my kitchen, so I've been gaining weight.
A lot of people are drinking more or they're eating a lot, but I have a couple of very real advantages. One, the beer tastings that I used to go to every week haven't been happening, so I've been drinking way less beer. And 2, I have to get off my ass to walk the dogs multiple times a day, every day. So I'm getting some exercise.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. How do you want to, so it sounds like you've got a bunch of questions for me. Do you want to ask them to me, or do you want me to talk about them? What would you prefer?
Why don't I ask them? But as I suggested in the email yesterday, try to answer as if just your portion is going to end up in the final video, because we're not doing a full interview where my questions will be part of the interview the way 60 Minutes would. We're doing more the way a regular newscast would, where you would be talking to the subject directly. So, for example, if I guess I gave you an example. This is the wonton soup my grandmother showed me how to make, and I don't know if that's true, but that's a kind of answer that would be effective in having the entire story right in that one sentence, rather than, oh, my grandmother taught me, where if you haven't heard the question, that won't be meaningful.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what is the source of this recipe?
So, growing up, I used to cook with my grandmother a lot. My grandmother lived with us and she took care of us. There were four of us. But I was the one that helped her out with the cooking. So we used to kind of just sit around and make wontons. We would make these wontons and then we would freeze them. And then we would, once they froze, then you could put them like in a big old bag and put them in the freezer and you can use them whenever. The thing about the recipe is when we were growing up, it was four of us kids. Like we weren't as, I would say, well resourced as we are now. So a lot of the recipes that I learned are really basic things that come from communist China, come from a time when the resources were scarce. So when I look at this recipe, the origin of it was making it with my grandmother. But over time, as I've gotten older, I incorporated different things into this recipe. Some of the sauces that I really like, and the folding technique is not, what I did growing up. Growing up, you throw in ground pork into the wonton wrapper and you just kind of crumple it up and that's it. You just toss it in the pan. But now I kind of fold it sort of like a gold gringet because I just think it looks cuter. It presents a little bit better. So the origin was definitely a little bit more humble, just me and my grandma in a kitchen, just mashing up wontons and freezing in. And now as I've gotten older, I've kind of made it my own and incorporated different things that I like into it and just made it a little bit more, more something I would, again, just more my own. So that's the source of the recipe, the origin with my grandma, and now just kind of making it my own.
So as it's evolved, what has the soup's role in your life evolved into? It's probably a comfort food. It's something that connects you to your grandmother. But how do you serve this to guests? Do you make it just as comfort food for a cold night?
So that's a really great question. Prior to the pandemic, I would invite friends over and we would make wontons together. So we would sit around and we would talk about, different things. And it was sort of a community experience, which I really like. The part about cooking that I really enjoy is sharing it with people and being able to sit down and show them what I've done and have them sort of experience it and them taking it all home and trying it on their own. I think that's really neat. I think you share a lot of culture, you share a lot of yourself when you share recipes and you share these experiences, because I think it's that time together that really is really nice. And I think, in this time of the pandemic, you're not like being close to people in close quarters is not safe. So it's nice to be able to virtually do this and be able to share this recipe that I is really close to my heart and I really enjoy sharing with other people, but on a different platform. So I appreciate this time.
So it sounds as though cooking for you in general is about sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think cooking is about sharing. It's about this experience it's about storytelling too. It's about, this is where this recipe came from. And like, my grandmother before her used to like make wontons with her grandmother. And so I think there's a lot to be said about cooking and sharing and really enjoying this great food that comes with all this history and that sometimes you kind of create together with somebody. I think that's really special too. It's the experience of making it together. It's all the stories that come with it. And then it's like enjoying it.
Does food in general or this recipe in particular connect in any way with your talk?
So in my talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about community, how much I appreciate Ithaca as a community, how much I appreciate when people kind of look outside themselves and kind of think about others. And I think this idea of bringing people together for soup and hope and talking about, the way that I grew up, my grandmother, my siblings and being Chinese American. I think it's all sort of intertwined in my identity. And I think, cooking Chinese food is pretty important to me because then it's just this really nice reminder of, where I'm from, how I grew up. Being Chinese American food is pretty huge. And so I think also it has evolved as being Chinese American has evolved over time. I think there's just a lot in there and it really does connect me to my culture and who I am. So I think it's a lot of different ideas.
One of the things that I do separate from my job at Cornell is write about food for 14850 magazine. So you've got me curious. whether you think there are great Chinese restaurants in Ithaca.
Do I think there are great Chinese restaurants? I really like spicy Asian. I wish there was like a good dim sum place here. I think there is a dim sum place, but I get the suspicion that they sort of freeze things and it's like pre-made stuff. So I've been making my own dim sum out of scarcity, out of a demand, but no supply. So that's been pretty interesting. I think coming to Ithaca, there are these great grocery stores now. There's Ren's Market, which I really appreciate. It's really nice and big. And there's Ithaca Tofu, but that's Korean. Like the owners are Korean and they have some Chinese inventory. And then there's the place by Wegmans, but it's a little bit far. So I appreciate all the markets that are here. The restaurants are all right. I think there's some decent Korean places that I really enjoy. In terms of Chinese food, I wish there were more options, but I think it's not bad because then it kind of forces me to ask, my aunts for recipes, ask, other people to share things. And it's kind of nice to be able to do that on my own. It almost makes it taste better, or maybe I'm just biased. I don't know.
The folks who own Saigon Kitchen used to have a restaurant called Wok Village in the small, actually right next to where Ithaca Tofu is. And they had a dim sum on weekends, and they did a fantastic.
Oh my gosh!
And they're
amazing. I have friends here who have never been to dim sum, and I was like, I can't believe we're friends. You've never had dim sum. We must go to dim sum.
I think Hai Hong does dim sum or did dim sum. Again, they're not Chinese, but. But a lot of what they serve is Chinese food. I mean, that's their focus. It's a Chinese restaurant, even if they're, I think, Vietnamese. They own the restaurant next door as well, Vietnam restaurant. And Wok Village, the Saigon Kitchen folks are Vietnamese, and but that was the Chinese food that was the best in Ithaca for a long time, was Wok Village or a Hai Hong. And Ling Ling has its moments, but it's not food. Spicy Asian I love. Spicy Asian, but Ling Ling I will get chicken and broccoli with garlic sauce at least a couple of times a year, because it's something that I used to eat all the time. So let me get back to the real topic at hand. What does Soup and Hope mean to you?
I think Soup and Hope is a really great opportunity to bring the community together, for storytelling, for being this platform for the community to engage with one another. And I've always really enjoyed going to Soup and Hope, learning more about people, their experiences. I think it really brings the sense of knowing people a little bit better. And I like that. I like feeling like we have this platform to kind of connect with one another. And obviously I like that there's food, big fan of food, and the soups have always been really great. So I do miss that component, and I'm interested in seeing what Soup and Hope looks like moving forward in this time. Will there be more engagement because it's easier to access? Is there going to be less because we don't have necessarily the soup portion? I don't know, but it's kind of exciting to see it sort of evolve and incorporate, some of these changes that we're seeing because of these times we're in. But I think it's just a great way to bring people together and tell these stories, which I think are pretty important, and create a better understanding of one another. I really like that.
Have you ever made your own wonton wrappers? Did your grandmother make wonton wrappers?
We did it. They're like $2 to make them would be, a couple of cents, but it's a lot of work. I tried to make my own dumpling wrappers, and when you're making your own dumpling wrappers, when you cook them, they just get really thick. So I just buy them. They're like $2.
Do you have things set up to do an illustration?
I'm gonna unplug, and then I'm gonna bring us to the kitchen, which is like 2 feet away. Hold on. How much time do you have?
I am not in a rush.
Okay, good, because I was wondering if I should prepare everything. I'm not. All right, how does this work? All right, so we are now in my kitchen. I have the meat, so you can get this at Wegmans. Scallions.
You can tilt the laptop screen down a little bit so you get, yeah, perfect. Well, not that much. Want to see your face. There you go.
So this is something that my grandmother taught me. Like she would, use scallions and then just drop them in water and then they would just keep growing. So that's what I do. I used these like last week and I just dump them in water and they just keep growing. So Mark, I sent you a recipe, but I usually don't follow a recipe. I just kind of throw things in here and I smell it.
Until it's right.
Yeah. But it's roughly, it's roughly what it should be. I think I'm low on some sauce. I'll be right back. Yeah, so we've got sesame oil, we've got oyster sauce. All this you can get at Wegmans. You've got Shashin cooking wine. I like to use low sodium soy sauce. And here is the brand of wonton wrappers that I use. I get this from Wegmans, so it's pretty easy to find. All these things you can get at Wegmans. They have a pretty nice section. And also Chinese New Year's coming up, or the Lunar New Year, because Vietnamese people celebrate it. Other Asian Pacific Island communities celebrate the Lunar New Year. That's coming up February 12th. And traditionally you would eat like noodles. So noodles represent longevity. So if you were to make this soup around New Year's, you could put noodles in it. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
There's really no science. I just kind of pour stuff in and then I smell it. I have an aunt in Seattle and I went to visit her last year and we were cooking all of these things that my grandmother and I used to cook, and a lot of it is really just eyeballing it and smelling it. Oh, and white pepper. For the scallions, instead of chopping it, I usually just use a scissor. A lot of Koreans cook with, when they prepare food, they also just use scissors. It's just so much easier. Do you have any things you're going to cook this weekend?
I'm going to make a big vat of soup using some of the canned soup that no one wants at the food sharing cabinets. And from there's a canned vegetarian vegetable soup that the joke is they move from cabinet to cabinet and no one ever actually eats them. They just get picked up at one place and put at another place. But I've found that if I doctor it by adding chunks of chicken, I've got some turkey sausage to put in today and some mixed vegetables and maybe some additional pasta, because the little letter noodles don't go very far once you start adding things to the soup. Then it turns it into something that's a little more appealing to eat, and also if it's in a takeout container, you don't have to find a can opener.
Yeah.
You can heat it or not, but you don't have to deal with a can opener. It's a little more interesting than the plain canned soup. And everyone complained about how awful it was, but honestly, it reminded me of the canned vegetarian vegetable soup that we used to have in my house all the time. I think my my parents thought that it was the least bad for you of the canned soups. Look, it's vegetarian. It's got vegetables. It's got to be good for you. So I think it's probably a tomato-based broth, and
Mhm.
it had little noodle letters and peas and carrots and probably corn. And this off-brand that was in the food pantry boxes and has been circling around the cabinets tastes almost the same to me. So it almost is like comfort food to me, even though everyone thinks it's awful. But adding to it, it turns it into something a lot more hearty, a lot more filling, lots of chunks of chicken or what have you. And having hearty soup in the winter is helpful.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the winters can be pretty dark here, pretty brutal. And also that's why I like Soup and Hope, because it's such a warming thing, you know, to be around soup and be in this beautiful space. And it's pretty warming, like heartwarming and like physically warming to be around other people.
Absolutely. I'm actually in the middle also of a 2-day Zoom cooking gathering with some folks in Brooktondale and some folks in New York City, making seitan from scratch.
Very nice.
We made the
Ooh,
seitan last night,
Brookendale.
and tonight we're making a Thai seitan stir fry.
Oh, very nice. Do you know Aaron Goldweber in Brooktondale?
I know Aaron not well. I certainly have dealt with him over time.
Yeah, I used to work with him. I visited his house when they were in construction one in Brooktondale, and Brooktondale is really beautiful, especially in the fall when you're driving out there. It's just really great foliage and like the roads are windy. I really like Brooktondale. Does Hope Mandeville live in Brooktondale?
I'm not sure. I know Max does. Are they related?
Yeah, Max is her son. He works in catering, right?
In conference and event services now.
Yes. Really, really nice guy. And for my wedding, she gave me all, like, I was telling her that I wanted to buy a bunch of pumpkins for the centerpieces. So she just like gifted me all these pumpkins for my wedding, these little baby pumpkins, and she wouldn't charge me. It was really sweet. And like, I feel like that, you know, that's like a community, you know, people kind of help you like with no expectation for anything. It's really sweet.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I will assemble it. So we've got the wonton wrappers, we've got this mixed congealed meat mixture. Another recipe that my grandma used to make growing up were these meat cakes. And it's essentially like a Chinese meatloaf. You like put all this meat together and then you steam it and then you eat it. And growing up, it was just like soy sauce and like pork, but like, you know, you can just incorporate a lot more different things in it. And that's what this sort of looks like a Chinese meat cake. You steam it and you just eat it with rice. So what you need is you need water to help seal it. And I suggest freezing them so that you can have like a whole bunch and just eat it whenever you want. You just pull it out of the freezer. So I take a parchment paper and then let's start assembling it.
Maybe let's tilt the lens down so that we can see what your fingers do.
Would it be helpful if I maybe, I don't know, does this help?
Absolutely.
All right, so we've got this pan, we've got the water, we've got the wonton wrappers. So It was really nice to hear that to read that you were thinking about making this yourself. I really hope you do. It's
I
pretty
love
easy.
experimenting with new recipes.
So you put about like a teaspoon here, and then you take your finger into regular water and then put it around the corner. And then you fold it in half into this triangle. Into a triangle, and then you put some more water on one of the edges, and then you fold it like this. So it's like a little gringet. And then you place it here, and then you're gonna freeze it. And so I like to do this so that it usually stands up, like this little coin purse. So we'll make a couple more. I'm gonna try to do it a little bit closer to the screen so you kind of see it a little bit better. Yeah, when I used to make it with my grandma, she would just kind of fold it up just kind of wrap it up like this, and this would be it. And this would be her version, and she would squeeze the top, and this is how my grandmother would make it. So this would be her technique. And people can do this. You could just squeeze it all the way at the top, and this is it. So I kind of just like to get a little bit fancy with it, which is why I do the purse. But both of those methods are valid. You can do however you feel comfortable with. But yeah, so I like to fold it like this.
And that doesn't look as difficult as I was picturing at first. So it seems like it's worth the effort.
Yeah, I just think it looks kind of lovely and it stands on its own. But also this method, it will also stand on its own. I mean, so I'll do one of, this is the way my grandmother would make it. This is how we would make it together. Yeah, you can also put water on the edges, really kind of just squeeze it. And then pinch it. And then you have this. So this is how me and my grandmother would make it. So, and I just do it a little bit different. And I think that's kind of nice about recipes. You can make them your own. The presentation is really up to you. All of these methods will work. So when you're doing this at home, I like to squeeze out the air. Which method do you think you would use?
I'm definitely going to give that a try.
Yeah, it looks kind of cute. It looks like a little purse, a little envelope almost.
Or a hat.
Yeah, yeah. And the other way is just easier. It's simpler, and yeah. Here's her way. Just kind of squeeze it.
That's probably quicker if you're making a lot for 4 hungry kids.
Yeah, pretty much. And so once I put it in the freezer, it looks, after I freeze it, so you have to freeze them spread out, and then you can put them in a freezer bag, because if you were to just put it all in here, they're all going to mesh, and it'll turn into one congealed blob. This way, you can take out 3, 4, dump it in water, boil it, and then you would have wonton soup. And you can put noodles in it. You can put bok choy in it. It's really up to you. I cook it with chicken stock. I just drop it into the water, boil it. Once it comes to the top, cook it for about another 5 minutes. And then, pour it into your bowl. And again, you can add noodles. I'll show you the brand that I use. I also use Twin Marquee brand. These are wonton noodles. So yeah.
I think picking up some of these specialty items will be a good excuse for my first visit to Wren's.
Yeah, you absolutely should. And plus all of this stuff you can get at Wegmans if you wanted, but I like the idea of supporting local business, especially a place like Wren's, which I think is an added value to the community to be able to shop and get some of the more specialty items is pretty neat.
Yep. A lot of the stuff is also at the PNC, which is very convenient for me.
Oh, nice.
I don't love shopping at Wegmans the way some people do, but I do.
Trader Joe's is coming.
Yes, opening the 19th.
Yeah, very exciting.
We had reached out to them from 14850 to get an opening date, and they never responded. And then we got an official or seemingly official opening date from someone else and published it. And then they got in touch and said, no, that's not the date.
Well, February 19th is the date, right?
Yep. We had published February 5th first.
Oh. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, I guess.
Right. I mean, especially when we asked.
Touch with you. I'm sorry?
Especially when we asked and they never answered.
I know. I really like 14850. That's a pretty nice website.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it just you and like a couple of other people?
It's just a handful of us. My friend Ari, who's a faculty member at Ithaca College, created 14850 magazine when he was a grad student.
Oh, nice.
And back in 1992, I joined him later, helped him get it on the web. We eventually stopped bothering to print because it was getting more and more expensive to do the printing. And I think being on the web, even in the mid and late 90s, was obviously what we wanted to do.
Yeah, good call. Well, this is how you make wontons. I don't know if you need anything else.
Well, I'm curious where you get the ground pork. You just buy ground pork?
Yeah, I get it. Well, I got this ground pork from Ithaca Tofu, but you can use the ground pork at Wegmans. Growing up, my grandmother would just take pork and just mash it with a meat knife, a Chinese meat knife. I'll show you what that looks like. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these.
Sure.
Should we just like chop up the meat like that?
Either that or get a meat grinder attachment for your KitchenAid.
What?
Either that or get a meat grinder attachment for your KitchenAid.
I know. You do that too.
I'm serious. I actually have a large amount of pork from a friend's farm in Brookendale in my freezer, but most of the ground pork has been turned into Italian sausage already. And it's amazing Italian sausage, but it probably would not be perfect for this.
No, well, I mean, the interesting thing about, with cooking, you can make whatever you want. The other day I made dumplings. I made dim sum dumplings, but I made it with the inside with like sausage, egg, and cheese. Huh. Just as like just to try it out. So you can try this with like Italian sausage and make it your own. I mean, the concept is there. It's meat.
Spice profile.
It's in a wrapper. Why not? Maybe it'll taste really good.
And I do have bags of chicken bones and veggie scraps in the freezer, so I can make stock soon.
Yeah, that'd be really great. Growing up, we would just boil this in water, but you really can do whatever you would like with it. And I use chicken stock, and you can make your own chicken stock.
Yep, that's what I do.
Very nice.
Chicken stock out of, I even save the wing bones when I have wings.
Oh, very nice.
That all goes in the freezer.
Broth was really in.
Onion scraps and whatever ends I've trimmed off vegetables. If I'm using shrimp, the tails and shells go in the freezer to make shrimp stock later.
Very nice. It's very sustainable. I like the idea of reusing things.
Went to a crawfish boil last June and saved all the crawfish shell and made stock out of those and the shrimp tails that I had on hand and made shrimp pho.
Oh, nice.
I was really happy with how that came out.
Oh, pho would be really nice today.
Yes. Yes. And actually, one of my favorite Korean dishes, bibimbap, the
Bibimbap.
dulsat bibimbap version comes in a hot stone bowl, and that's exactly what I want when it's 10 degrees. Just sit with a hot stone bowl that keeps my food hot. Hard to do with takeout.
Yeah, I really miss good Korean barbecue.
What was the Sanjay did a lot of Korean barbecue on Dryden Road. The place that replaced them, I haven't tried yet.
Oh, is it that place that's constantly changing on Dryden on Main Street? Like they're now a taco place?
No, on Dryden Road in Collegetown,
Oh, I was thinking of in Dryden on Main Street.
right
I'm not sure.
between Luna and the optical place is a little Korean place, and I don't recall what
Like
the
across the street?
is. No, it's on the side with the parking garage. Across the street is Sopung, which is a Korean street food stand, and they have some super delicious food. Really, really simple and inexpensive Korean street food style place. And I haven't been
Very
there
nice.
either.
Gosh, this is making me hungry.
See, this is why I had to have breakfast first.
Very nice. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm just going to keep making wontons.
I mean, you've got all of that ground pork. You might as well fill the wontons.
I know. I
Anything
know.
else I should ask you about?
Mm, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm looking forward to Soup and Hope. I hope, you'll tune in. I have no idea what it'll be like. I've not done something like this. I've done a lot of employee assembly forums and like panel discussions. But this is pretty different because like this is sort of like more personal and less like we've got some business to tend to. We've got questions, like we need answers. So this is, I think I'm like a lot more nervous for something like this than I would be for like a forum. And the forums, like some of them are pretty well attended, but I'm not nervous for those because those are pretty structured and I think for me, easy to do because it is so structured and straightforward. And with Soup and Hope, it's a little different. And so I'm pretty nervous about it. But is there anything to know? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I love making wontons. I love cooking. I love cooking with friends. I love showing people how to make different Chinese recipes. I originally was debating between this and a lotus root soup. Oh, the lotus root soup is a more traditional Chinese New Year dish, whereas this is not a Chinese New Year dish. This is really more something you would eat normally. Like I would have this on the weekends or like after I got home from school. And like certain soups are specific for the Lunar New Year. But I don't think anybody would want to make a lotus root soup. I don't think a lot of people know what lotus root is or have ever seen lotus root. So this just seemed more something people would recognize
Right.
and maybe try at home.
This looked really approachable, especially as you demonstrate it. It looks like something that I can do. And I
You absolutely can. I think this method, with a hat with a purse thing is something anybody can do. Just don't put too much filling or else you're really not going to be able to fold it over very well.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else to know?
What do you do with the chicken stock other than heat up the chicken stock? You talked about adding things like bok choy. Are there spices or flavorings that you add to the chicken stock before you put the wontons in when you're about to serve it?
So I'll show you. So if you don't have, let me wash my hands real quick. So I use this chicken flavor broth to kind of just season the water. You can also get this at Wegmans. It's like $3.30, or you can go to Ren's or Ithaca Tofu. It's pretty much just like a chicken bouillon, and I put about like a scoop of it into the water, and that's about it. That's the only seasoning I would use. But I really enjoy this recipe because like when I'm working, I'll just like come here, boil water and drop the wontons in and season the water. And in like less than 10 minutes, I'll have soup. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. This has been a really nice chat. I always enjoy meeting new people and chatting and sharing different recipes.
This is definitely inspiring me to make some wontons, and then I have to go find a lotus root soup recipe that I can make for the new year.
Let me know if you need any help with it.
Well, if you have a favorite family recipe, I'd be happy to start with that. Otherwise, I can Google.
I will write it down and I will share it with you. I think you'll be interested in like, I don't know if you've ever had lotus root. It's sort of a really beautiful root. It's sort of like a potato with like holes in the middle. Okay. It's starchy, but the texture is different. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a squash potato.
It sounds familiar. Chances are really good I've eaten it at one Asian eatery or another.
Mm-hmm. It's very possible. So thanks for like joining me here today, and let me know if you have any questions or if you need to follow up on anything. I will share with you a lotus root soup recipe, and hopefully you'll give it a shot for the Lunar New Year.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to close this and see what the recording looks like, and I'm going to try combining it. If you have an opportunity to send some high resolution horizontal photos, that would be great.
Horizontal photos.
Horizontal.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll send a photo of all these sauces, and then I'll send one of the folding in case it's not clear in the video.
Sure.
Okay.
And if you can produce a finished bowl of soup to have for lunch or what have you, a photo of that would be perfect.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Okay, nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Bye.